My sister announced at my graduation, he only got into state school because of affirmative action. I'm the smart one. My parents nodded. So I cut them all off and let them discover I'd been paying their bills. My sister announced at my college graduation dinner that I only got into university because of affirmative action, not because I was smart like her. My parents laughed and agreed. What none of them knew was that I'd been secretly paying their mortgage, car payments, and credit cards for the past 18 months, $47,000 total, to keep them from losing everything. Hey Reddit, this is the story of how my family's racism and favoritism finally showed its true face at what should have been my proudest moment, and how I discovered that being the family's ATM doesn't earn you respect. I'm Daniel, 22 years old, and what I'm about to tell you will make you question whether family is really worth supporting when they fundamentally don't value you. You know that moment when someone says out loud what you've always suspected they thought privately, when years of subtle dismissiveness crystallizes into explicit disrespect. That's where this story goes. But let me start from the beginning, because to understand how completely my family destroyed our relationship with one dinner conversation, you need to understand the lifetime of favoritism and quiet racism that led to that moment. I'm biracial, black father, white mother. My parents met in college, got married young, had me when they were 23. My sister Monica is from my mother's previous relationship, 3 years older than me, and white. Growing up, that difference was always present, not overtly discussed, but always there in subtle ways that shaped everything. Monica was the smart one. I was the athletic one. Monica got praised for her grades. I got praised for my basketball skills. Monica's academic achievements were celebrated with elaborate dinner parties and social media posts. My academic achievements were acknowledged with "good job," and then back to talking about Monica's latest accomplishment. When Monica got into Yale for undergrad, my parents threw a massive party, invited extended family, made speeches about how proud they were of their brilliant daughter. When I got accepted to our state university with a full academic scholarship 2 years later, my mom said, "That's nice, honey," and went back to helping Monica pack for grad school. The difference wasn't subtle to me, even if my parents would have denied it was about race. But it was. Monica was their smart child, who they could brag about to their white friends. I was their well-rounded child, who was good at sports and very personable, code words for not intellectual. When Monica struggled with math in high school, they hired an expensive tutor, and my dad worked through problems with her every night. When I struggled with chemistry, they told me not everyone is good at science, and suggested I focus on my strengths instead. Monica went to private SAT prep courses that cost $2,000. I studied from a book I bought used for $15, because when I asked about SAT prep, my dad said, "Those courses are really for students targeting Ivy Leagues. You'll do fine without it." The messaging was clear. Investment in Monica's education was worthwhile because she was going places. Investment in mine was unnecessary because I'd end up somewhere decent but not impressive. I scored 1480 on my SAT. Monica had scored 1380. When I excitedly told my parents, my mom said, "That's wonderful." Then immediately added, "Of course, standardized tests aren't everything." Monica's success shows that. She couldn't even let me have one moment of being objectively better at something academic. I got into our state university with a full scholarship. Tuition, room, board, all covered based on academic merit. My parents' response was lukewarm congratulations followed by conversations about how expensive Monica's Yale education was and how they were stretched thin supporting her. "You're lucky you got that scholarship," my dad said. "We couldn't afford to pay for 2 kids in college." But they weren't paying for 2 kids. They were paying full freight for Monica at Yale, $70,000 per year, while I was on full scholarship. The difference was that Monica's education was seen as a worthwhile investment. Mine was seen as fortunate happenstance that saved them money. During college, the pattern continued. Monica got monthly allowance payments from our parents, $500 for expenses. Got nothing because your scholarship covers your needs. When I'd mention needing money for books or supplies, my dad would say, "Get a part-time job. It'll be good for you to learn work ethic." Meanwhile, Monica had never worked a day in her life. Her work ethic consisted of attending grad school in art history, a degree my parents funded entirely while she lived in an apartment they also funded. So I got a part-time job. Actually, multiple part-time jobs. I worked at the campus library, tutored other students in math and computer science, and picked up freelance coding projects. By my sophomore year, I was making $801,000 per month while carrying a full course load in computer science. I was good at coding, really good. What had started as a required class became a passion. I understood logic structures intuitively, could debug complex problems, enjoyed the challenge of building elegant solutions. By junior year, I was getting internship offers from tech companies. My parents' response when I told them about my internship offer from a major tech company, $8,000 per month for the summer. "That's nice. Honey, did we tell you Monica got accepted to present at a conference in Europe?" Everything I achieved was immediately redirected to Monica's accomplishments. Everything Monica achieved was celebrated as extraordinary even when it was mundane. But here's what my parents didn't know. By my junior year, I'd discovered their financial situation was disastrous. I found out by accident. My mom had left her laptop open at home during winter break. I'd walked past and seen an email from their mortgage company with final notice in the subject line. Curious and concerned, I'd looked closer. They were 3 months behind on their mortgage, $4,800 in arrears. The bank was threatening foreclosure proceedings. I checked further, not snooping, but trying to understand if this was a crisis I needed to be aware of. Found credit card statements showing balances of $15,000, $12,000, and $8,000 respectively, all with minimum payments being missed. Found car payment notices showing both their vehicles were behind by 2 months each. My parents were drowning in debt, and they'd apparently been drowning for a while. I confronted my mom. I saw the mortgage notice. Are you guys okay financially? She was mortified. That's private, Daniel. You shouldn't have looked at that. It was open on your screen. Mom, are you losing the house? She started crying. Explained that my dad had lost his job 8 months earlier. He'd been consulting, but income was sporadic. They'd been living on credit cards and draining savings. We're behind on everything. Facing foreclosure, car repossession, financial ruin. Why didn't you tell me? Because you're in school. You shouldn't have to worry about this. And we didn't want to burden you. What about Monica? Does she know? No, and don't tell her. She'd just worry and she has her studies to focus on. There it was again. Monica needed to be protected from adult concerns. I apparently was included in that protection too, except now I knew, and they expected me to just forget about it and focus on school while they lost everything. How much do you need? Daniel, no. We're not taking money from you. How much to get current on everything? She looked at me with tears streaming. About $20,000 to catch up on mortgage, cars, and minimum payments on credit cards. But we can't take... What if I paid it anonymously? Through a lawyer or something? You wouldn't have to know it was from me. Why would you do that? Because despite everything, despite the favoritism, despite the subtle racism, despite always being sent to Monica, they were still my parents. And the idea of them losing their house was unbearable. I didn't tell them I was going to do it. Instead, I researched and found a family law attorney who agreed to help me set up anonymous payments. I'd transfer money to the attorney's trust account, and he'd pay my parents' debts directly to creditors, making it look like it was coming from a family trust or settlement that had strings attached about confidentiality. Cost me $1,500 just to set up this arrangement. But it meant my parents would accept the help without knowing it was from their college student son. Over the next 18 months, from the middle of my junior year through graduation, I paid $47,000 of my parents' debts, mortgage payments, car payments, credit card minis when needed, all through the attorney, all anonymous, all while working internships and freelance coding projects that paid way more than my parents realized. The summer internship at the tech company paid $8,000 per month. I lived cheaply, saved $20,000 over 3 months. My senior year, I worked remotely for a startup doing back-end development, making $4,000 per month while taking classes. I graduated debt-free with $5,000 in savings after paying $47,000 of my family's bills, and my parents never knew. They thought they'd gotten lucky with some kind of anonymous benefactor or distant relative's estate settlement. They stopped talking about financial stress, started talking about possibly retiring early now that things had stabilized. Meanwhile, Monica finished her master's in art history, a degree that qualifies you for exactly 0 jobs except more academia, and moved back home. She was 25, unemployed, living rent-free with our parents while looking for opportunities in her field. When I'd visit home, Monica would make comments about how practical my computer science degree was. Not very intellectual, but at least you'll get a job. Tech jobs are all about memorization, not real creativity or critical thinking. My parents never corrected her. Would sometimes agree, Monica has such a refined mind. Not everyone is suited for that level of abstract thinking. I'd smile and nod, while mentally noting that I was the one funding their comfortable lifestyle. Monica's refined mind hadn't contributed a dollar to household expenses. During my senior year, I interviewed with 6 major tech companies. Got offers from 4. The best offer, $110,000 starting salary, full benefits, signing bonus of $15,000, stock options. At 22 years old, I'd be making more than both my parents had made at the peak of their careers. I accepted the offer. Told my parents at Easter dinner, "That's wonderful, Daniel." My mom said, "Where is the job?" "Here in the city. I'll be starting in July." $110,000, my dad repeated. "That's very good money for a recent graduate, especially from state school," Monica added. "Most of my Yale friends are making way more right out of undergrad, but for state school that's impressive." There it was. Even my significant achievement had to be qualified by comparison to Monica's supposedly superior Yale network. Actually, several of my classmates got similar offers. Computer science pays well regardless of school. Well, Programming is very in demand, my mom said. Not like Monica's field, which requires real scholarly excellence. I bit my tongue. Monica's field that resulted in 0 job offers and required living at home while I was making 2 months later, I graduated. 394 GPA, multiple academic honors, job offer in hand. Everything I'd worked 4 years for. My family came to the graduation ceremony, sat in the crowd while I walked across the stage, took photos afterward. Standard graduation experience? We're so proud, my mom said, hugging me. Our college graduate! Both are college graduates, my dad corrected, pulling Monica into the photo. Monica with her Ivy League degrees, Daniel with his state school success. We're very lucky parents, even then. Even at my graduation, Monica had to be centered in the narrative. That evening, I'd made reservations at a nice Italian restaurant to celebrate. My treat, though my parents didn't know that yet. My signing bonus had come through, so I figured I could afford to take everyone to dinner. We sat down, ordered drinks and appetizers. The conversation flowed normally. My parents asked about my new job, the company, what my role would be. I answered enthusiastically. This was my moment, finally. Something that was undeniably my achievement. Then Monica ordered another glass of wine and turned to her friends at the nearby table. She'd invited 2 of her grad school friends without asking me. Loud enough for our whole section of the restaurant to hear, she announced, "Can we be honest for a second? Daniel only got into state because of affirmative action. Like, let's not pretend that wasn't a factor. I got into Yale on pure merit. 1380 SAT, 4.0 GPA, incredible essay. Daniel's scores were probably okay. State schools have quotas to fill. He's lucky he's mixed, honestly. Got him the scholarship, got him into a decent school, probably helped with the job too. I'm not saying he didn't work hard," she added, gesturing with her wine glass. "But let's be real about what opened those doors." The table went silent. Her friends looked uncomfortable. I sat frozen, fork halfway to my mouth. My mom laughed nervously. "Monica, that's not— Oh, come on, Mom, we can acknowledge it. There's nothing wrong with benefiting from affirmative action. That's what it's there for. I'm just saying Daniel got opportunities I never had. I had to earn everything purely on merit. He got a head start." My father, my black father, nodded slowly. "Monica has a point. Those programs exist for a reason. They probably did help Daniel." My mother agreed. "Monica has always been the naturally brilliant one. She got into Yale without any advantages. Daniel, you've done very well with the opportunities you were given." I looked at my father, my black father, agreeing with my white sister that I'd only succeeded because of affirmative action, agreeing that I wasn't naturally brilliant like Monica, accepting that his biracial son's achievements were less impressive than his white stepdaughter's. I looked at my mother, who'd birthed me, raised me, and apparently always believed I was inferior to her older daughter. I looked at Monica, smirking slightly, wine glass raised, unemployed with a useless graduate degree, living rent-free in a home I'd been secretly paying the mortgage on for 18 months, and something inside me broke. Not broke as in damaged, broke as in the chains that had been holding me to this family shattered completely. I set down my fork, pulled out my phone, texted my attorney. "Stop all payments immediately. Effective today. We'll call tomorrow with further instructions." Then I stood up. Everyone looked at me. "Daniel?" my mom asked. "Where are you going?" "Away from people who think I succeeded because of affirmative action instead of because I had a perfect GPA. Scored 1480 on my SAT, and worked my ass off for 4 years while funding my own education through part-time jobs." "Daniel? Don't be so sensitive," Monica said. "I'm just being honest. You're being racist, and Mom and Dad are enabling it. You got into Yale with a 1380 SAT. I got into state with a 1480. You think I needed affirmative action? I was smarter than you. I just didn't get the $2,000 SAT prep course you got. That's not fair," my mom started. "What's not fair is that you spent $280,000 on Monica's education, undergrad and grad school, while I paid for mine with scholarships and part-time jobs. What's not fair is that Monica gets $500 a month allowance while I got told to learn work ethic. What's not fair is that she's 25, unemployed, living at home rent-free, and you're calling her brilliant while questioning whether my 6-figure job offer is even legitimate." "You're being dramatic," my father said. I looked at him. "You're black, your son is biracial, and you just agreed that I only succeeded because of affirmative action. You agreed with your white daughter that your black son didn't earn his achievements. Think about that." He looked uncomfortable but said nothing. I turned to my mother. "I've been paying your mortgage for 18 months. The anonymous payments that saved you from foreclosure. That was me. 47,000 total. Mortgage, car payments, credit cards. All me. Money I earned from those tech jobs you dismissed as not intellectual. I saved your house, and you're sitting here agreeing that I don't deserve my success." The table went completely silent. My mother's face went white. My father looked like I'd slapped him. Monica's smirk disappeared. "Daniel," my mom started, "I'm done. With all of you. Monica thinks I don't deserve my achievements? Fine. Let's see how she does without my support." Mom, Dad, you think I got lucky with affirmative action? Great. You can manage without the luck I've been providing. I pulled out my wallet, threw $200 on the table, enough to cover my portion of dinner, and walked out. Behind me, I heard chaos erupting. My mother calling my name, Monica yelling something, my father trying to get me to come back. I didn't turn around. I got in my car, drove to my apartment, and started making calls. First call, my attorney. Stop all payments. Cancel all arrangements. They're on their own. Second call, my new employer. Can I start earlier than July? I'm ready to begin immediately. Third call, my landlord. I'm staying in this apartment. Let's discuss a longer lease. Fourth call, myself. Internal dialogue. You're free. Finally free of people who never valued you. That night I blocked my parents' numbers. Blocked Monica. Blocked extended family who might try to guilt me into reconciliation. Changed all my passwords. Updated all my emergency contacts. Removed them from any accounts they'd ever had access to. Within 24 hours of my graduation dinner, I'd severed all ties with my family. The people who'd raised me, supported me, sort of, and never quite believed I was as good as Monica, and I felt lighter than I'd felt in 22 years. Monday morning, 2 days after walking out of my graduation dinner, I started my new job. My employer had been happy to let me begin early. They needed someone on the back-end development team immediately, and I was eager to dive in. The work was challenging, engaging, exactly what I wanted. I showed up at 8 a.m. to an office full of smart people who valued competence over pedigree. Nobody cared that I went to state school instead of an Ivy. They cared that I could debug complex code and architect elegant solutions. My first week, I proved myself by solving a problem that had been blocking the team for 2 weeks. My manager was impressed. "You're going to do well here," he said. "Welcome to the team." I was finally somewhere I was valued for what I could do, not diminished for what I supposedly wasn't. Meanwhile, my phone, the one I'd blocked my family on, was blowing up. I could see the notification count climbing even though I couldn't see the messages. By day 3, I had 47 missed calls and probably hundreds of texts. I didn't care. Let them panic. Let them realize what they'd lost. 2 weeks after I cut them off, my attorney called. "Your parents' mortgage company contacted me asking why payments stopped. What do you want me to tell them?" "Tell them the arrangement is terminated. The benefactor is no longer willing to provide support. They're going to default. Probably face foreclosure within 60-90 days. That's their problem now." "You're sure about this?" "Completely sure. They called me a beneficiary of affirmative action who didn't deserve my achievements while I was literally paying their mortgage. I'm done subsidizing people who don't respect me." "Understood. I'll notify all creditors that the payments have ceased." 3 weeks after the dinner, my parents somehow got my work email. My father sent a message. "Daniel, we need to talk. Your mother and I are confused and hurt by your reaction at dinner. Monica was inappropriate with her comments, and we've spoken to her about it. But cutting us off completely is extreme. We've received notices that our mortgage payments have stopped. The car payments, too. We're getting collection calls about credit cards. You said you were paying these things, but we don't understand how or why you'd suddenly stop. Please call us. We can work this out as a family." "Dad," I responded. "Dad, you agreed with Monica that I only succeeded because of affirmative action. You, a black man, agreed with your white daughter that your biracial son didn't earn his achievements. That's not something we work out. That's something you live with. I paid $47,000 of your debts over 18 months because I didn't want you to lose your house. I did it anonymously because every time I've given you money directly, you never paid it back, and Monica got more. You responded to my generosity by dismissing my intelligence and accomplishments. So now you get to experience life without my support. Good luck." Daniel, I didn't hear back from him. But 4 days later, my mother showed up at my office building. Security called me. "There's a woman here claiming to be your mother. She doesn't have an appointment. Should I let her up?" "No. Tell her I'm not available and she needs to leave. She's crying, sir. Says it's urgent. Tell her to contact me through email if it's urgent. Do not let her up." I watched from my office window as security escorted my mother out of the building. She looked devastated. Part of me, the part that had loved her for 22 years, felt guilty. But the stronger part remembered her laughing when Monica said I'd only succeeded because of affirmative action. That evening, she sent an email. "Daniel, I came to your office because you won't answer calls or texts. I'm sorry. We're all sorry. Monica especially is sorry. She was drunk and stupid and said things she didn't mean. But honey, we're losing the house. We got a foreclosure notice. 60 days to pay $7,200 in missed mortgage payments or they start proceedings. We don't have it. Your father's consulting has dried up. I can't work because of my health issues. We thought we were okay because those anonymous payments were covering everything, but they've stopped. If that was really you paying, and I still can't understand how you had that kind of money as a student, please help us one more time. We'll pay you back. We'll make this right. Please don't let us lose our home over one terrible dinner conversation. I love you. You're my son. Please." Mom, I read it twice, then deleted it without responding. 1 month after cutting them off, Monica tried a different approach. She tracked down my best friend from college, James, who I'd stayed close, and asked him to pass along a message. James called me. Dude, your sister found me on Facebook. She's desperate. Says your parents are losing their house, and you're the only one who can save them. They can save themselves. Monica can get a job. She says she's trying, but there are no jobs in art history. Then she can work retail, or food service, or any of the 1,000 jobs that don't require a graduate degree, like I did to pay for their bills. She also says you're being vindictive and petty. That one comment at dinner doesn't justify destroying your family. It wasn't one comment. It was 22 years of comments, 22 years of favoritism, 22 years of being told I was less intelligent, less impressive, less worthy of investment than Monica. The dinner was just when they finally said it explicitly. What do you want me to tell her? Tell her nothing. Block her. Anyone from my family contacts you, block them. I'm serious, James. I don't want any connection to them. Done. For what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. Family that doesn't value you isn't really family. 6 weeks after the dinner, my parents lost their house. They'd been unable to come up with the $7,200 in missed payments. The bank initiated foreclosure proceedings. They had 30 days to vacate. I found out through my attorney, who'd been contacted by their lawyer trying to see if the anonymous benefactor would reconsider. I told him absolutely not. Where will they go? My attorney asked. That's their problem. Monica has a graduate degree. She can support them. From what I understand, Monica is unemployed. Then she can get employed. Welcome to the real world. 2 months after the dinner, my parents moved in with Monica. Except Monica didn't have her own place. She'd been living with them. So all 3 of them moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in a bad part of town. Rent, $400 per month, which they could barely afford between my father's sporadic consulting and Monica finally getting a job at Starbucks making $13 per hour. My mother sent one more email. Daniel, we lost the house. We're living in a tiny apartment. Monica is working at Starbucks. Your father is doing any consulting work he can find. I can't work because of my health. This is humiliating. We're in our 50s, starting over with nothing because you decided to punish us for one mistake. You made your point. We understand you're hurt, but this is cruel. You have a 6-figure job and you're letting your parents live in poverty when you could help. How can you be so heartless? Mama responded one final time. Mom, I'm not heartless. I gave you $47,000 over 18 months. I saved your house, your cars, your credit. I did it while working multiple jobs and going to school full-time. You responded by agreeing that I didn't earn my success, that I got lucky with affirmative action, that Monica is brilliant and I'm just adequate with advantages. You want to call me heartless? You raised me for 22 years believing I was inferior to Monica. You spent $280,000 on her education and $0 on mine. You gave her monthly allowances while telling me to get a job. You celebrated her mediocre achievements and dismissed my exceptional ones. I'm not punishing you for one mistake. I'm removing myself from a dynamic where I'm valued for what I provide, but not for who I am. You're not living in poverty because I'm heartless. You're living in poverty because you can't manage money. Monica can't support herself, and the son you dismissed is no longer subsidizing your lifestyle. This is the last email I'll send. Don't contact me again. Daniel, I blocked her email. Blocked any variations of their email addresses I could think of. Set up filters to automatically delete anything from their domain names. 3 months after the dinner, my extended family started getting involved. My mother's sister, Aunt Carol, called my office. Daniel, what's going on? Your mother says you've abandoned them, and they're living in some terrible apartment because you won't help. Did she tell you why I won't help? She said there was a disagreement at dinner. But family doesn't abandon family over disagreements. Did she tell you that at my graduation dinner, Monica announced I only got into college because of affirmative action, and Mom and Dad agreed? Did she tell you I'd been anonymously paying their mortgage and bills for 18 months, $47,000 total, while they dismissed my career as not intellectual? Did she tell you any of that? Silence. Then, no, she said you overreacted to some joke. They weren't jokes. They were 22 years of believing Monica is brilliant, and I'm mediocre. Of investing hundreds of thousands in her education, while expecting me to fund my own. Of treating me like a lesser child because I'm biracial and she's white. Daniel, I'm sure they didn't. Carol, with respect, you weren't there. You didn't grow up in that house. And I'm not interested in reconciling with people who fundamentally don't respect me. If Mom wants to tell you her version where I'm the villain, that's fine. But I know the truth. Word spread through the extended family. My mother's narrative, that I'd heartlessly abandoned my parents over one comment, competed with the truth that trickled out through various sources. Some family members sided with my parents, called me ungrateful, cruel, vindictive. I blocked all of them. Others reached out privately to say they'd always noticed the favoritism, that they were proud of me for setting boundaries, that I deserved better. Those relatives I stayed in contact with, my father's side of the family, all black, was almost universally on my side. My grandmother told me, your father should be ashamed, agreeing with a white girl that his black son didn't earn his success. That's internalized racism, and he needs to face it. 6 months after the dinner, I was thriving. My job performance was excellent. I'd gotten a raise to $120,000. I'd bought a condo. I was dating someone from work, Angela, a product manager who was smart, funny, and came from a family that actually celebrated her achievements. Meanwhile, my parents were struggling. My father's health declined, stress-related issues that required medication they could barely afford. My mother's health issues that had prevented her from working apparently required treatments they couldn't pay for. Monica was still at Starbucks, 26 years old with 2 degrees and making $13 an hour. I heard all this through Aunt Carol, who still tried occasionally to get me to reconcile. I never did. 1 year after the dinner, Monica sent me a letter, physical mail to my condo, meaning someone had given her my address. I almost threw it away unopened but decided to read it. Daniel, I know you don't want to hear from me, but I need you to know that I'm sorry. Deeply, genuinely sorry. What I said at your graduation was racist and horrible. I was jealous. I've always been jealous. You were smarter than me, harder working than me, more talented than me, and watching you succeed while I struggled made me feel like a failure. So I lashed out. I diminished your achievements to make myself feel better, and I used racist talking points to do it because I knew they'd hurt you most. I've lost everything because of that night. Not just you, though losing my brother is the worst part, but my self-respect. I'm 26, living with our parents in a tiny apartment, working at Starbucks. I have 2 degrees and no career prospects. Every day I wake up knowing I destroyed my family's stability with my jealousy and big mouth. Mom and Dad are struggling, really struggling. Dad's health is bad. Mom needs medical care she can't afford. They're aging rapidly from stress, and I know it's my fault because if I hadn't said what I said, you'd still be helping them. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness. I'm asking you to please help Mom and Dad. Whatever I did, they don't deserve to suffer for it. They're your parents and they love you even if they showed it badly. Please. Monica, I read it. Felt nothing. Threw it away. Her apology didn't change anything. She was sorry because she faced consequences, not because she truly understood what she'd done. And my parents did deserve the consequences. They'd enabled her behavior for 22 years. 2 years after the dinner, I got promoted to senior developer. Salary, $145,000, plus stock options now worth about $40,000. I was 24 and making more than my parents had made combined at the peak of their careers. Angela and I got engaged. Her family threw us a huge engagement party. The contrast to my family couldn't have been starker. Angela's parents celebrated both their daughters equally, invested in both equally, loved both equally. Your family isn't coming to the wedding? Angela's mother asked. No, we don't have a relationship. That must be hard. It was at first. Now it's liberating. I only have people in my life who actually value me. 3 years after the dinner, my father had a heart attack. Aunt Carol called to tell me. He's in the hospital. It's serious. Your mother is there, but she's a mess. They can't afford the medical bills. Daniel, I know you're angry, but please, come see your father. He might not make it. I'm sorry he's sick. But I'm not coming. He's your father. He's a man who agreed that I didn't deserve my success, who watched me work multiple jobs to pay for college while funding my sister's Ivy League education, who stood by while Monica diminished everything I achieved. He made his choices. I've made mine. You'll regret this if he dies. Maybe. But I'll regret wasting more of my life on people who don't value me even more. My father survived the heart attack, but the medical bills destroyed what little financial stability they'd rebuilt. They declared bankruptcy. 4 years after the dinner, Angela and I got married. Small wedding, just close friends and her family. No one from my family attended because none were invited. My grandmother from my father's side asked if she could come. I know you're not speaking to your parents, but I've always loved you and been proud of you. You can absolutely come, Grandma. You always treated me fairly. She came to the wedding, told me afterward. Your parents made their bed. You're right to let them lie in it. You've built something beautiful without them. 5 years after the dinner, I was 27, making $165,000 as a lead developer. Angela and I owned a house. We were talking about having kids. My life was everything I'd worked for. My parents were living in the same small apartment. My father was doing minimal consulting due to health issues. My mother's health had deteriorated further. I was still at Starbucks, 30 years old, still living with them. Aunt Carol gave me updates I didn't ask for. They're barely surviving. Your mother cries every day about losing you. Your father's health is failing. Monica is depressed. Can't you find it in your heart to forgive them? I don't need to forgive them. I've moved on. They should too. But they're your family. That treats you like they treated me isn't family. It's obligation dressed up as love. I'm done with obligation. 6 years after the dinner, my grandmother passed away. I went to the funeral. My parents were there. We didn't speak. I saw how much they'd aged. My father looked 70, though he was 55. My mother looked frail and sad. Monica looked defeated, like someone who'd spent 6 years realizing exactly what she'd cost herself and couldn't figure out how to fix it. After the service, My mother approached me. Daniel, please, can we talk? No, 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. I looked at Angela, who nodded supportively. Fine, 5 minutes. We walked to a quiet corner of the funeral home. My mother started crying immediately. I'm so sorry. For everything. For favoring Monica. For not recognizing your achievements. For agreeing with her that night. For all of it. You were right about everything and I was wrong. Okay. Okay? That's all you have to say? What do you want me to say? That I forgive you? I don't. That I want a relationship? I don't. You're apologizing 6 years later because you faced consequences. Not because you actually changed. That's not fair. I've changed. We've all changed. Have you? If I came back into your life, would you suddenly treat me and Monica equally? Would you celebrate my achievements without qualifying them? Would you stop expecting me to fund your lifestyle while dismissing my career? She couldn't answer. That's what I thought. You're sorry you lost your ATM. Not sorry you hurt your son. That's cruel. What's cruel is raising a child to believe he's inferior to his sibling. What's cruel is spending $280,000 on one child's education and $0 on the other's. What's cruel is agreeing that your biracial son only succeeded because of affirmative action. I'm not cruel, Mom. I'm just finally putting myself first. I walked away. Didn't look back. 7 years after the dinner, Angela and I had our first child, a daughter we named Maya. She was perfect. Beautiful and healthy and deeply loved. I thought about my parents when Maya was born. Thought about how they'd never meet their granddaughter. Felt nothing. No regret. No desire to reconcile. Just acceptance that some relationships aren't worth maintaining. Angela asked if I wanted to let them know about Maya. No. They're not part of my life. She doesn't need to know grandparents who would treat her like they treated me. What if they've changed? 7 years ago, Monica said I didn't deserve my achievements, and they agreed. They haven't reached out except to ask for money or guilt me into helping. That's not change. That's desperation. 8 years after the dinner, I was 30, senior engineering manager making $190,000 plus stock options worth $150,000. Angela was director of product at her company making $175,000 combined. We made $365,000 plus equity. We had a beautiful home, a healthy daughter, and a relationship built on mutual respect. My parents were still in that apartment. My father was on disability. My mother was on welfare. Monica had finally left Starbucks for an administrative assistant job making $35,000. At 33, she was nearly a decade behind her peers career-wise. The three of them were living on about $70,000 combined annually. Social Security, disability, welfare, Monica's salary. Barely surviving in an expensive city. Meanwhile, I was thriving. Not despite cutting them off, but because I cut them off. Because I finally stopped trying to earn love and validation from people who fundamentally didn't value me. 9 years after the dinner, Monica sent me one final message via Facebook. I'd blocked her everywhere else but apparently missed Facebook. Daniel, I know you won't respond, but I need you to know that I destroyed my own life with what I said. Not just that one comment, everything that led to it. The jealousy, the entitlement, the racism. I'm 34 years old making $35,000 as an admin assistant. I can't afford to move out, can't afford to date, can't afford a life. And I know it's because I spent my 20s being a spoiled brat who thought the world owed me something because I went to Yale. You were right about everything. I wasn't smarter than you. I wasn't more deserving. I just got more investment because Mom and Dad had biases they never confronted. And I exploited those biases instead of calling them out. I don't expect forgiveness. But I want you to know, you didn't deserve any of it. You deserved parents who celebrated you the way they celebrated me. You deserved a sister who lifted you up instead of tearing you down. You deserved better than all of us. I hope you're happy. I hope you've built a good life far away from us. I hope you never think about that graduation dinner or feel guilty about leaving. You did the right thing. Monica, I read it. Finally felt something. Not forgiveness, but closure. Monica finally understood. And that understanding 9 years too late meant nothing but confirmed I'd made the right choice. I didn't respond. Just deleted the message and blocked her on Facebook too. Today, 10 years after that graduation dinner, I'm 32. VP of Engineering making $220,000 plus significant equity. Angela just had our second child, a son we named after my grandmother's father. The one person from my biological family who always treated me as an equal. I have everything I wanted. Career success, financial security, a partner who values me, children I'll raise without favoritism, a life built on respect rather than obligation. And my parents? Still in that apartment. Still struggling. Still regretting the night they agreed I didn't deserve my success while I was paying their mortgage. Monica? Still single. Still living with them. Still administrative assistant. Still paying the price for jealousy she expressed 10 years ago. 10 years ago, they thought I was benefiting from affirmative action. That I didn't earn my achievements. That Monica was the brilliant one and I was just lucky. Today, I'm making 6 times what Monica makes. I own a house worth $800,000. I have equity worth over $400,000. I have a family that loves me unconditionally, and they have each other in a 2-bedroom apartment. Still trying to figure out where it all went wrong? The answer is simple. It went wrong the moment they decided I was worth less than Monica. It went wrong every time they dismissed my achievements. It went wrong when they agreed that my success was luck rather than hard work. But it went right for me the moment I walked out of that restaurant and never looked back. Family isn't who you're born to. Family is who values you, who celebrates you, who treats you as an equal. My biological family failed that test. So, I found a new family. Angela, Maya, our son, Angela's parents who treat me like a real son, friends who became siblings, and I've never been happy.